there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of City of Fury. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of A City of Fury by Huegorama. Now this is a current GameFound campaign, so you can check out the link down below for everything that they have planned. This is a sponsored preview, and this is also a prototype copy, so all rules, components, and things like that are subject to change. Now, City of Fury is going to be a solo game where it's a 9-card beat-em-up, where the tracking system is completely on the cards in front of you. You have a few cubes, but other than that, tracking these different enemies is done in a very clever system with all of the cards directly in front of you, culminating in a battle with the final boss. So you're trying to take out all of these different enemies, and then finally the final boss, after your health has been dwindling, you've been trying to restore it, but you're going to use these different moves that you're powering up, such as being able to shoot or fight to take out different health points for the enemies, but you're also trying to maneuver around the board with a dodge. So you're trying to move forward and backwards, and depending on where you are, that's going to affect the enemies and what their turns look like as well. So you're trying to maneuver around them, and honestly, this is trying to replicate a side-scrolling video game where you're trying to have these different enemies appear as you start taking them out, and I think it does so in a really good way. So you're going to be able to see how this progresses with the different enemies, but another thing to note is this is a solo game, and it is quite difficult, at least I found. So it can be quite tricky, which means that resetting and playing again is going to be a lot of fun, because it's going to feel very, very rewarding when you do beat it. And I'm not saying it's impossible, it's not crazy, but it definitely takes a lot of planning for the different actions that you have, because as you're powering them up and then using them, they're going to become weaker, and then you need to power them up again before you're able to have them be as effective as you want them to be. Now here in front of you, you have all of the cards that you'll be playing with throughout the game. So you do have these background cards, and that basically represents how far both you and the enemies are able to move within the play area, but spoiler alert, they're actually all going to be enemies on the other side. So as you start taking out these enemies, they're going to become pieces of the background, and then new ones are going to spawn, so that you're kind of able to have this side-scrolling effect. Now this is going to be your hero, where we're playing as Ava Lovehate, and as you can see by the 6 yellow boxes above her name, we have 6 health, whereas this iPod here only has 2 health and Rash has 3 health. So you're going to track that, and then here you can see your action selection system, where you're going to be able to punch, kick, shoot, or dodge. So on your turn, you're going to choose one of those, and you're going to perform the action with where your tracker is at. So it's going to have multiple actions within it, and you'll perform them left to right. Most times you'll have multiple actions, if you're not doing the base one. But once you do so, it's going to reset you down to the base level of that particular action, and then you'll boost 2. Then it's going to be time for the enemy phase, and then if necessary, you're going to move the environment. So with that, I'm going to have us just go directly into a few turns, because it is pretty straightforward, and I think that's the best way to show you what the game is going to look like. So at the beginning of the game here, we have this enemy, and he does melee damage as well as shooting damage. So he is going to shoot at us if we allow him to do so, whereas Rash here is only doing melee damage, and he's only going to move 1 forward, so he's not getting that much closer to us. Now, we do know that if we take out this iPod, we're going to be pushed 1 forward, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment, but just know that knowing that you're going to take someone out and them creating another piece of background is going to push you from the edge if you're ever on that side. So we are going to choose this shoot action, and we're going to reset this down to the base amount, and then as you can see here, there are 2 shoot icons. Now you're able to do this if you are not adjacent to the target. So right now we are not adjacent to the iPod. We're going to do 2 damage to it and take it out. Now if we weren't able to kill it this round, it wouldn't do any physical damage because we aren't next to it, but it would have done 1 shooting damage. So basically what this enemy does is it always does 1 damage regardless, but depending on where you're based on it, it'll do a certain type of damage. Now you may have noticed that there are 2 sides, and this iPod, his actions would have been the same regardless of what side you're on, but you are able to move to the other side of enemies. So if we were on this side of Rash, he would perform these actions instead of these. So now that we have taken him out, we're going to remove him, and then we're going to have our enemy phase where Rash is going to perform his actions. He's going to attack, but there's no one to attack. He is going to move forward, and then he won't be able to attack again. Now, once you use a particular action, you're going to be able to boost 2 other actions, including the one you used. So that basically means that you're not able to boost the same one twice, but otherwise you're going to choose what actions you think you might be doing later and boost them to make them stronger. And the 4th level of each of the actions is how you're going to heal, which is going to be extremely important because getting through all of these enemies is going to be quite punishing, and being able to get to the final boss, you are kind of able to maneuver around him and hopefully take him out, but you need some health going into that to be able to do so. So with that, we're going to choose which of our different actions available we want to boost, and I do think that shooting is really good, and punching is something that we can get close to healing. So we'll move up punch, and while shooting is good, I think honestly we may move up our kick because we are going to be pushed closer to Rash, and we want to get them close to healing. So we'll choose that for what we choose to boost, and then after that, Rash will go on to his enemy turn. So he's first going to attack for damage, but there's no one for him to attack. Then he's going to move forward and then attack again. Again, we aren't there yet, so that's really good for us. Otherwise, we would have been taking a damage if he moved up to us, or if we were already next to him, we would have taken 2 damage in a row. So once that happens, because we took out an enemy, they're actually going to become a piece of the background. So this is going to happen. We're going to push our player character forward. Anyone that is on this spot, everything will get shifted forward 1, but we will then take this, and this will become the next enemy that we need to take out, which is Mech, and he's going to be set with 4 health. So as you can see, that's how new enemies are going to come out, and this card here, which was the last one set when we started the game, it says boss bar up top, and it's going to be our boss that we need to take out. So with that, I'm going to just have us go through another turn so you can see a bit more about the abilities that come into play and the choices that you might make as a player. So Rash currently has 3 health, and we definitely want to try to take him out. I think that our best bet might be to kick and then punch him. So we're going to kick him this round, which is going to be a move, a damage, and then a move. So we'll damage him for 1, bringing him down to 2 health, and then we'll be able to move back as well after that to hopefully save us at least 1 damage there. Now we're going to get to boost twice again, so we will boost this one up here, and now we're going to boost our shoot to try to take care of this guy later on. So now we'll go on to the enemy phase, and both of them are going to be able to activate. So thankfully, because we moved, this is not going to trigger against anyone, but then Rash is going to move forward 1 and then finally attack us. So he's going to do a damage to us, bringing us down to 5 health, and then Mech is going to perform a few things. So first, he's going to shoot. That's going to do a damage over here to us. He would then throw, so if anyone was directly next to him, he would be able to push them back, and then he is going to jump this way, meaning that even if there was another enemy here, he would be able to jump and swap places with them. So he's trying to get as far away as possible to be able to shoot you, because once you're on this side of him, you aren't able to get shot from him, which is good for us to know. So that's how the enemy phase would go, and as you can see, we've taken some health damage, meaning that our punch is even more important this round. So we're going to choose to punch, which is going to allow us to move. Now, when we are the player, our move we're able to use for either the jump or the move type. So I see no reason for us not to swap places with Rash with our move to get us even closer to Mech to hopefully maybe take him out with some melee damage later. So we'll move a bit closer, and then we'll be able to punch twice, which is going to kill Rash, and then also heal ourselves. So we'll take him out, we'll be able to heal ourselves back up to 5, and then we're going to be able to boost 2 of our stats again. So in this example again, we might choose to want to do certain shooting things, but honestly, I think maybe balancing all of these out right now is really good, because shooting twice is going to be good for us with Mech. We're not really able to move too far on the other side of him before that anyway. So now again at the end of this round, because Rash was taken out, he is going to be flipped over here to become a part of the scenery, and then because we were not on this first card, no one moves or anything, but this card is going to be taken and spawned as the next enemy, which is going to be Larry. So you can see now where we currently have 2 gunmen up against us, so moving up and doing some melee damage is going to be really good for us, which means that it's really great that we chose to buff up our punch and our kick. Now, this is one of those games that may seem very straightforward. You only have one action available to you each round, so you're going to choose the one that's helping you do the most damage while avoiding enemies, and you're trying to work up each of your actions to that healing 1 health, because honestly, that is so important that you really need to be able to do that a couple of times throughout the different rounds to be able to make it to the boss. So, where your actions are very simple and everything that the enemies are doing is very simple as well, whether they're moving or jumping, which means that they're swapping the different places, or they're shooting from range or attacking from melee. Sometimes they're shoving you, but honestly, all of the symbology is pretty straightforward, that what you really have to battle with is maneuvering around the different enemies. And at first, your instinct may be to just fight and do as much damage from the front, but taking a look at the different enemy abilities, it can be really important to see what their other abilities are if you're on the other side of them, because that may be a way to deter them and perhaps buy you a few rounds to be able to heal yourself as well. So this game is very tight, where it is those 9 cards and one of them is just your tracking card. So you're trying to get through all of these different enemies, and it may seem easy at first, but as you start taking on more damage and you're not able to stop certain things, it's really going to pile up by the time you fight the boss. So with that, I'm going to fast forward us to toward the end of the game and what that looks like when you're finally fighting the boss, as well as another enemy. So here you can see we've taken quite a bit of damage. We're currently at 2 health, but we do only have our 2 enemies left. So this is Boss Man. He is the final boss that comes out, and that's how you will win the game. And Jin is still here with 1 health left. So we do luckily have 1 move fully powered up, so I'm going to walk you through just how this is going to maneuver around. So we will use our shoot action, reset this down to here. We're going to be able to shoot, move, shoot, and then heal. So we'll shoot Jin here, her 1 health left, meaning that we were able to make it down to just us and the final boss. Now we're able to move and then shoot again, meaning that we will take a health from him, and then we were able to finally heal a health ourselves. So we'll heal a health there, and then we're able to buff 2 different abilities. So we will buff this one here, and we'll choose to buff this one as well. Now, this is a great final setup for us because he is going to shoot, which is going to take a damage from us, and then he's going to jump twice, but that's only going to move him to here, which is adjacent to us. Finally, he would shoot again, but because he's adjacent, he's actually not going to do a damage in that way. So that's kind of a way for you to be able to try to stop him. So we're able to do that, and then next on our turn, we're going to choose to punch. So we're able to move and then punch twice and then heal again. Now, I think we're actually not going to move, because if we stay where we are, he's going to trigger this action on the next round, and I'll show you what that would look like. But if we did want to move, he would choose to move that way and then punch and fight. Honestly, either way is good, so I will have us move. I'll have us move and show you what that looks like. So we will move over to here. And then after that, we are punching for the 2 damage. So we're going to do 2 damage to him and then heal 1 for ourselves. Now, next on his turn, he's going to jump twice this way. And then he is going to punch and then shove. But luckily for us, he is going to jump once this way like this, and then once this way again, and then luckily not have a target. Now, this is setting him up to shoot us next turn, but we don't have to worry too much. I think we're going to be able to take him out. Now, sorry for getting too excited. I did not buff our stats here, but I'll have us choose to buff our kick as well as our shoot. Now, on our next turn, we're going to choose to shoot with the 2 and do the 2 damage and be able to take the boss out. Now, in that instance where I chose not to move when it was like this, if I had chosen not to move, he would have tried to shoot at us but not been able to because of the adjacency. Then he would have swapped places with us. and then moved again, and then shot us for 1 damage. So either way, we made it out pretty safe that I think we would have had it, but that's a way that you can see that you're going into that final boss battle with pretty low health, but depending on how you balance out your different actions and what you're trying to do, as well as knowing which side of the enemy is going to activate, is going to be absolutely crucial. The actions in City of Fury are going to be very straightforward, where you know exactly what you're doing, whether you're moving, shooting, or punching or kicking to just do melee damage, but on top of that, you're only doing 1 action per turn, so there's really not a ton that you're doing each turn, and that's going to mean that a ton of the strategy is going to be in planning which ones you choose to boost, because each action is going to get a lot more powerful depending on the level that you're playing it at, and playing the ones that heal you is going to be really, really crucial, as well as being able to even do 2 damage in 1 turn. A lot of these enemies are going to have between 2 and 4 health, so being able to do around 2 damage is going to be very, very important, or even being able to shoot and spread out your damage is also going to be very, very strong. So being able to plan out your future turns is where this game is really going to shine, that you're not just adapting to what's happening, but you're trying to plan for what might be coming next. Because one thing that you always know is that you're always going to be fighting against 2 enemies until that end boss comes out and it's just him left, because as soon as you take 1 out, it's going to trigger a new one coming, and if you happen to kill 2 in 1 round, then you'll just have 2 trigger in the next round, so 2 become the background and 2 new ones come out. So you're always fighting against 2 enemies, which I find is very reliable with planning forward your turns, that you have a lot of information all available to you, so it's more just figuring out what enemies might be coming out next, how you might want to deal with that, and being able to keep your health high enough to be able to take damage when you need to do so. Now, this has been a preview of City of Fury. You can check out the link down below for everything that Huegorama has planned for the Microrama collection. I've been Professor Meg. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Co channel, and I'll see you next time.